Good evening. I'm Leland Vittert. On the program tonight, what President Biden can learn from record high gas prices to fix the baby formula shortage. Plus, why new murder numbers show an inconvenient truth for America's elite. Will they care about black lives when it doesn't fit the narrative? And how Disney beat Republicans at their own game and won this battle of the culture war. But first, on point tonight, the American people are resilient and they are forgiving. They will pay record high gas prices. They will cut back on travel. They will switch brands at the grocery store. A lot of us already have. But empty shelves in the baby formula aisle appears a bridge too far. This is 2022 after all, and we are in America. Not Russia, not the old Soviet Union, not Cuba or Venezuela, but America. But you would not know it by the pictures. Here's a look around the country from our Nexstar owned and operated stations.
Walgreens is one of several retailers now capping the amount of baby formula customers can buy.
A sign of just how serious this problem has become for families.
Some driving hours just to pick some up.
Empty store shelves and concerned families have lawmakers calling the baby formula shortage a heartbreaking crisis.
Think about that. There are grandparents and parents right now burning gas, driving from Walmart to Target to every other store in their city, desperate to feed their babies. Again, they are driving and burning gas. Gas hit another record today, $4.41. It will go up as the summer goes on. That compares to $3 a year ago and well under $3 when Mr. Biden took office. We're going to get back to gas prices in a second. Today, Jen Psaki added the formula shortage to Mr. Biden's urgent list.
The president is going to continue to use every tool we have in order to bridge that gap. And this has been work that has been underway for weeks and months.
Interesting, because it's the first we've ever heard the White House talk about it. And in terms of White House action, President Biden held a closed-door meeting today with baby formula executives and delivered the following plan. Cut red tape to speed up manufacturing. Crack down on price gouging and hoarding, and increase imports. One could wonder why we weren't doing those already. We have no way of knowing if those moves will do anything to help the baby formula supply crisis. But we wanted to backtest things a little bit, figure out what the president has done in the past about national crisis, domestic crises, and whether or not it's worked. Has his approach solved the problem? Well, let's think about the biggest problem we face right now, rising prices, rising gas prices. Here is the president talking about gas prices back in November.
To address these issues, I got on the phone with leaders from other countries grappling with this challenge to try to find ways to lower oil prices and ultimately to the price you pay at the pump.
All right. Since then, he's done a whole lot more, including releasing oil from America's strategic reserves. Bob Cusack standing by with why the White House just canceled plans to lease 1 million acres in Alaska for oil and gas drilling. But first, Kelly Meyer is in Washington with how the president's gas price solutions have worked so far. Hi, Kelly.
Hey, Leland. Well, gas prices were already going up well before Russia invaded Ukraine. Take a look at this. President Biden canceled new oil and gas leases in January 2021. Prices rose 16 cents in the following weeks. Now, they dropped about 9 cents in November 2021 after the first oil release announcement, but shot up a month later. Fast forward to the war in Ukraine, which made the issue even worse. More attempts by Biden to fix the problem might give temporary relief, but it's just that, temporary. Now, there are some options the administration will try next, but again, it might just be a brief fix to a problem that is skyrocketing to historic levels. Leland?
Yeah, tap into ethanol, that coming potentially next month. So far, nothing on suspending the federal gas tax. Kelly Meyer in Washington. Kelly, thank you. With that, we bring in Bob Cusack, managing editor, executive editor of our partners at The Hill. Bob, it's good to see you. Does the White House fear that they are now in this perfect storm of gas prices, inflation, baby formula, and they just can't find a way out?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough time for the country. It's a tough time for this White House because whether that's fair or not, all problems the White House has to answer for. And the White House has been fairly defensive on this issue, saying that they've been working on it for weeks and months. And like you, Leland, we haven't been hearing about this issue for a while. So this has really come out of nowhere. This is also another criticism of the FDA, who's taken some hits on COVID because they're the lead agency. You know, what happens, Leland, as you know, when there are problems, government agencies need to alert the White House to say, hey, this is a major problem. This problem is not going to be fixed overnight. And for the White House's sake, this problem better be fixed by November or it's going to be especially ugly.
Well, it's especially ugly if it's not fixed in a few weeks for people who need baby formula as well. What's worse almost, that they've been working on it for months and we still have these empty shelves, or that they're just hearing about it now?
Well, and the fact that they were just meeting with baby formula executives today is an indication that they have not been focusing on this as much as they should have anyway, at least at the White House. And they put out a temporary plan. You put out the bullet points, and they're going to try to expand access of government programs as well with the WIC program. But these are not immediate fixes. And this is going to have to be something that Democrats and the White House and Republican, maybe they need a legislative fix, but this is a supply chain issue. And Leland, like inflation, supply chain, you can't just solve this overnight. Yeah. It has to be a multi-pronged approach. And that is a tragedy because so many states are rationing baby formula. Yeah. I mean, that is outrageous.
Yeah, and you point out very well that it may not be the president's fault, but it is his responsibility. And that just cuts across all administrations. You and I have seen so many presidents and covered them who were defined by things that they never could have imagined. President Trump defined by COVID, George W. Bush defined by 9/11. I'm thinking about, though, just the optics of this. This morning, as we woke up to news that the president is canceling, the Department of the Interior, federal leases on 1 million acres in Alaska. Forget whether it would help gas prices or not, forget everything. Why do that and allow yourself to have the criticism and the optics of that?
The optics don't look good. As you suggest, this is not, if they approve this was not going to fix gas prices tomorrow or even this year, even next year. But the optics of it are very bad. Now, why? Well, Democratic Party, as you know, has made climate change a top priority. Environmentalists were lobbying very hard. They were very happy with this decision. But when you think about the key demographic vote, and there are many, but one of the keys is suburban women. Okay, now we're talking about baby formula shortages, and we're also talking about high gas prices. Biden won the suburbs in 2020. He lost them certainly in my home state of Virginia in 2021. At least McAuliffe lost them. So Democrats had a big defeat in Virginia. And right now, those voters who supported Biden in 2020 are not supporting the Democratic Party. And that's a bad sign for the Democratic Party going into the midterms.
Yeah, and also you've got to even look at the polling of Trump-Biden right now. If the election were held today, it's always a little fun in games to talk about, but still President Trump now is on top of that in a way that he never was when he was president heading up to the 2020 elections. In terms of how the president has been polled in dealing with these crises, you make a great point. This was a huge gift to environmentalists this morning in terms of canceling these oil and gas leases, but he's being polled far to the left over and over and over again. Graphics sort of illustrating that right now by Nancy Pelosi, by the Progressive Caucus. Is he going to have these same left polls when it comes to dealing with the baby formula crisis? We've already heard it's price gouging, or it's the big pharma. Lowering regulation doesn't really jive with the poll from the far left, does it?
No, it doesn't. The left likes more regulation, and cutting back on regulation is something that's not going to be popular with them. But this is something that I think in some cases this White House has kind of shelved the left a little bit because of a crisis. This is certainly a crisis. So, this is one situation where the Biden administration has to get a solution really soon, no matter who's complaining on the left.
Yeah, and you have to wonder whether they're going to start reversing some of these oil and gas policies just from the optics standpoint. It's fascinating that they say they've been dealing with the baby formula crisis for weeks or months, but never told any of us. It kind of makes you wonder what they're seeing on the horizon that we're going to have shortages of or problems with next. If it was first gas prices, now baby formula. Any reporting on what they're worried about next?
No, but I think they're a little gun shy right now because these issues keep coming at them so fast, whether it's gas prices or inflation and various things like supply shortages. Yeah. We don't know kind of where it is, but COVID is still with us, and that is affecting supply chain issues, and that's globally.
Right.
But voters care about what's happening here, and that's why when they go to the polls, they're going to be voting based upon their pocketbook and the economy and whether they can feed their babies.
Yeah, and whether or not you can feed your babies may be issue numero uno, even more important than inflation, which you and I used to always talk about. It's the economy, stupid. Bob, a little bit more on the midterms later, and some Republican Senate candidates who are causing, Republicans problems. Bob, thank you very much. Good to see you.
Thanks, Lima.
All right. Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.